Hey, what's up? I'm Leah and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I want to dive in and talk about this new single, FU LOL, and talk to me like, first of all, like what really kickstarted the idea behind this track?
Yeah, so I think this is the first time I'm actually sharing the story of like what inspired the track, which is really cool because I don't think anyone, not only has no one really asked, it's just a song I started like a year ago and it's gone through so many different phases that I never really got to talk about it, but it was all inspired. Oh, I should have had it on camera by my one friend had his band t-shirt for me. And I was supposed to pick it up when I was in Nashville, but I didn't get a chance to get it. So I was like, can you just mail it to me? And it wound up being like months of like, I just want this t-shirt because I wanted to like support his music. And I just like wanted the physical t-shirt because we had been talking about it so much. So originally, like the demo of the song was being titled T-shirt for like 6 months, and that's such a lame name for a song. No hate to anyone who titles their song that, but I thought it was just like, a little overdone. So I was not gonna name the song T-shirt. But it is all about, at least the inspiration started from that like T-shirt exchange, and then I wound up getting together with Mike Grubbs, who my friend hooked us up and said, "You guys got to write together. It's going to be amazing." And I was like, "Absolutely, sure. I'd still take any opportunity to meet an amazing songwriter and get to talk to someone about music." And so we sat down, and I was like, "Well, this is on my mind lately, like about this T-shirt exchange." And he was like, "Wait, let's do this." And so that's kind of how the song came about, which is a really fun story.
That's pretty cool because the fact that like it wasn't even like, hey, I'm gonna write the song. It was just like stuff that happened a year ago, and then now it kind of transitioned to be what it is today. Now, aside from that session, that writing session or collaboration that you had, you got to work with Chase Coy as far as production goes. So, what was that process once Chase stepped in, and like how much of a change did you feel that song had once you guys started to work together?
Oh my goodness, the change is like astronomical. I think when I was writing it with Grubs, it was very kind of, well, obviously it was acoustic. We had written it on the guitar. It had such a different feel to it, probably because of like Grubs' inspiration and the stuff that he writes, which is also phenomenal. His name is Wakey Wakey on streaming platforms. And then just with all the change was just like pretty astronomical. So I was a little nervous when I was going to share it with him for the first time after Chase and were working on it, because I was like, this is very different than you probably intended it to be. But he was a really awesome like sport about it and really loved it. So that was exciting. But yeah, Chase took it to the next level. I didn't have any ideas or plans for the sound of this song. I just knew that I was dying to go in a more pop punk direction just because that's like the stuff I grew up listening to. And even though I don't know, I think Chase is a really nice, gave it a really nice balance because he was in that scene and he did really well in that scene when he was younger, but he also loves pop. And so he was able to make it explode, but also while keeping some pop elements in it, and then kind of just going really hard on the pop punk elements on it and being a little experimental with, the sound. So I have examples of like where it started versus like where it finished, and the whole transition of the phases it's been through in that like entire year of trying to figure out that sound is super cool.
The fact that you are creating this kind of music and kind of at the same time restructuring yourself or your sound with this song like is amazing. Now in doing so, did you feel like it was like a natural progression for you, or did you feel like it had a lot of trial and errors before you got to what we listen to today?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, it was definitely it was a natural progression, and that was more of me on the business side of things or like the logistical side of things, being like, I'm not just gonna flip a switch and like release music that sounds completely different to what I was releasing. I'm gonna gradually do it. And in the span of like 2 years or 2.5 years, I was able to do that. But that was gradual, so I was slowly starting to release things that were a little less pop leaning and a little bit more alternative leaning, until when I worked with Chase, we were originally going to like keep it a little bit more pop, but then I think we pulled the plug and I was just like, you know what, like F it, let's just make it go hard, just do whatever you want with it. And he's like, honestly, yeah, this sounds great, let's just keep rolling with it. And then it naturally kind of came to be a bit more hard hitting than I expected it to be, but better than I would have like ever thought it would be.
How would you say like it impacted your vocals during the recording process?
Ooh, not much. I feel like well, if anything, I'm more comfortable singing this type of music. I love pop music, and I'm thankfully was trained on so much and so many genres that I can be pretty versatile when it comes to styles. But I consider myself like a true rock vocalist, so I think it was just more going in a direction that I'm supposed to be singing. Whereas in some pop music, it's higher and it's a little beltier, and it's harder for me to hit, and it's not always in my range, and why I can't, it's hard to perform it live. Versus this rock stuff or pop punk or alternative stuff is just comes more natural to me. So, but I mean, then again, when you ask about vocals, like there were moments where I had to scream and like shout and stuff like that. And thankfully I didn't do most of that. I had some awesome, background vocalists do that for me, but that definitely took an impact on my voice.
Now, or even before this track, like, would you say that when you're writing music, would you say that you're humming in this pop punk kind of cadence?
Ah, I feel like it's so weird because now when I think about future music, I'm like, oh crap, it has to sound pop punk. So let me go like like I don't know, just having that like you said, pop punk cadence. That's really it's a really good way to put it. I don't I think I still write the same. Like I'm still gonna just like sit at a piano and write something, and it's probably gonna sound singer-songwriter or pop, but it's cool because I was so heavily influenced by the pop punk stuff, like I said, that I think it's really easy to translate into it when I am ready to put it in that form. So I don't think I write necessarily. I don't know. I can't really explain. There's like really not any explanation to anything I do. If I'm good at it, I'm good at it. And if it works, it works. I don't really have any method behind that.
As far as like new material, this is like the first taste of what fans can expect. So, why did you feel like this song was very important to be like that first taste?
So I don't really like, I mean, I plan out releases very thoroughly, but when it comes to like picking something that's supposed to come out next, I feel wrong doing it out of any, I feel it feels wrong to do it any other way, but then when I wrote the song. So FULOL was the first song in that, you know, in the new direction that I'm going in that I wrote. So it's only makes sense for me to release that first. It's kind of cool because I do get to make these decisions myself right now, just because I am independent. And so that has always been my process. Granted, if I had someone breathing down my neck and telling me, what I should be releasing, maybe that would be different. And there would be a different song out of like the new batch that I'm working on. That would be the first song. But to me, this was the song that started the next chapter. So it would be wrong to not release it first.
Aside from your single, you did an incredible cover of Lil Wayne's Lollipop, which is you basically made it your own. Talk to me about recreating this track and giving it this like alternative kind of sound and vibe to it.
So I could barely take credit for that because I did cover Framing Hanley's version, which is, ask them. They're the ones who came up with this incredible arrangement. I thought it was like the coolest thing I've ever heard when I first heard it like 15 years ago. And I had been a fan of them since that. And so I don't know, I found myself singing that song at karaoke, like I at karaoke bars, and I was like, well, why don't I just cover this? Like, why don't I just do a cover of a cover? Because like, who does that? Who covers a cover? I feel like you just cover one song. So even though it was a little silly, I was like, this just feels right. It definitely really leaned into the pop punk stuff. I feel like I took it back a little bit from that, but it was kind of one of those tracks where I was just like, let me just see how people take this and just do it for fun. And to my surprise, the cover was taken very, very well. And that made me really excited because it made me feel at least validated in releasing more music like that, originals like that, because people like hearing me in that setting, which it was kind of a wild card just to throw that out after having the EP, which is a little alternative to my last EP that I did, but it was still pretty pop. So I think this was a big leap and it was a risk that I took that I was glad I took. So, like I said, I can't take any credit for, any of it, but we did reproduce it. Some things changed. We modernized it a little bit. And yeah, it was just more of like a fun, just like throw away track before I get some more originals out. So yeah.
It was a good high risk with an even higher reward. I feel like that's what happened with this song. But I do have to admit, I guess you really are the first person to ever cover a cover. So
Maybe the first person I know to do that.
So I mean, maybe you're gonna bring your fans to framing and to Lil Wayne. Who knows? You're bridging the gap. So
Absolutely.
well, congratulations with this new single. I am super excited to listen to more music from you and excited to see like how much more what the new material is going to sound like. So I'm definitely excited about this interview and this song, and I'm looking forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the awesome questions and your time talking to me and getting to hang out about the music.